Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on Sunday every noon on Sundays. Then I post it up to Facebook and all sorts of social media. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor. No other arm. There we go. BetterHelp. BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. If you're anywhere in the world and you need to get to a licensed professional, master's level or PhD level therapist, go to betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're super affordable, and I've been getting really good feedback. So thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, on to the question. So the question is there such a thing as mutual abuse? Well, it's possible, but usually what ends up happening is called reactive abuse. So think of it this way. The abuser abuses, and finally the target of abuse has had it, and they lash out, okay? Kind of like what I did with my dad when he accused me of being, promiscuous and stuff. I talked about that on Sunday. So, you lash out. And now, if he were really interested in playing the victim, he would have said, "Oh, you're ungrateful, you're this, you're that, you're you guns," right? So reactive abuse is when you've had it. You've absolutely had it, and you lash back. Well, then the target of abuse, or the abuser, is going to play that they're the target of abuse. Oh, you yelled at me, you did this, you did that, you guns. So it's reactive abuse. You're reacting. You've been being abused horrifically for a long period of time. You finally had it, and you finally lash out at them. Now, does that include physical pushing? It could. If they're getting in your face, if they're threatening you, if they're whatever, and you push them back, they'll accuse you of being the aggressor. 110%. That's what happens when they call the police. Guarantee. Well, she shoved me, or he shoved me. Well, really? What did you do right before that? Oh, you'd been hitting her for the last 15 years? Oh, you've been screaming at him and hitting him for the last 20 years? Really? So they play the victim. So it's reactive abuse. When we lash out in anger because we've just had it, that's reactive, okay? It does not make you an abuser. It makes you a target that's tired of putting up with BS, is what it is. So abuse is when you get these toxic, nasty couples, and that does happen. Mutual abuse does happen. So there are some very sick people out there that enjoy the drama and the trauma and the chaos and the pulling people into their sick little spider web. So there are people. So I want you to think of the movie and the play, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? How dysfunctional was that couple? So it's just this weird, dysfunctional, snarky, yelling at each other, screaming at each other, maybe even hitting each other, but they refuse to do anything about it. They won't, neither one of them will do anything about it. Does that happen? Yeah, 100% it does. There are some pretty sick puppies out there, you betcha. But as far as the normal situation, it's called reactive, because you're reacting to their abuse, lashing out to make them stop, and of course then immediately they play the victim. So you want to be very careful of that. You don't want to lash out at them. Here's the reason why. You want to stand up for yourself. Don't get me wrong. Remember, I did this whole thing about standing up for yourself, etc. But you don't want to lash out. There's a difference. So if you lash out in anger, and not just with a boundary, like if you're like name calling or anything else, you're playing their game, okay? You don't want to play their game. You cannot win. They wrote the rules, and they'll change the rules so that they win. Does that make sense? So you don't want to play their game. You do want to stand up for yourself and declare boundaries and be like, no, and I mean it. Stop, and I mean it. That's for sure. But if you're lashing out in anger and saying things that you think is going to make them change. So one thing that I've seen people do over and over and over and over again, which I'm just like, stop. Just stop. Your magic thinking is that they'll lash out and say, oh yeah, well, I'm planning on leaving you. Really? You just gave away your greatest asset, which is secrecy, which is not telling the enemy what you're doing. There's a reason why, when you're strategizing in football, in hockey, in war, you don't give the plays away to the opposing team. You just don't. And a lot of people are hoping, because when we talk afterwards, I'll be like, okay, now he knows. Now he's demanded that you give up your bank account and that you work from home, and he has access to your phone and this, that, and the other thing. Okay, do you see now why I told you not to tell them that you were leaving? Yes. Okay, what was going on? We got to figure out, why did you sabotage? What happened? What was the thought process? And it always boils down to the little kid inside wishing that this would be the thing that slaps them in the face, that wakes them up. There's nothing there to wake up, guys. That's the cold, hard truth. There is no there. And there is nothing you can say or do that is going to wake them up, because there's nothing there to wake up. I know it sucks. I'm so sorry. But that is the truth. So there is reactive abuse. There is reacting to the abuse and then being accused of being an abuser, which you're not. And then there is mutual abuse, which is like the Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Let's just sit there and torment each other, and we enjoy it, and we're not going to change, and we don't want to stop, and blah, 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 blah. And those people, I wish they would just go find their own planet and leave the rest of us alone. So anyway, I hope that that answers your question. Was there another part to this? Is there such a thing as mutual abuse? No, that was the entire question. So basically, to recap, no, there really isn't in most cases. Now, in some bizarre dark triangles, dark triads, they'll get together and they'll just sit there and torment each other because they enjoy it, but they always need an audience and they always suck people in. So you want to stay the hell away from that. Most of the time it's reactive. You're just reacting, and you've been pushed to the limit. And this is you going, no, stop. Except that it's you going no stop as a 2-year-old, as opposed to going no stop as an adult. So I want you to get the Inner Child Workbook, either by Catherine Taylor or by Lucia Cappuccioni. I want you to work on the codependency issue with Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker. Pia Melody, she wrote a book on that. And also Melanie Beattie, Codependent No More, Beyond Codependent No More. Those are all great books, and those are the things you need to work on, because if you find yourself lashing out and they accuse you of being the abuser, oh, you need to get out. It's only going to get worse, because they're enjoying this, and they are, believe me, keeping track of what you have said and what you have done, so that when you do leave them, they're going to go to their little flying monkeys and go, oh, he or she did this, neglecting to fill in that they did this. Do you see where I'm going with that? It's like they don't ever tell this whole story. They tell the part of the story that's going to make them look like the victim and is going to make them look good. So yeah, so this is the time to work on the self-esteem. You don't want to let your abuser know you're working on yourself. If you can avoid it, don't tell them you're in therapy. If you can avoid it, don't tell them anything. You know, how about them Dodgers? Leave it at that. You know, keep it surface level. Don't go deep. So yeah, so there is reactive abuse, reacting to the abuse, lashing out because you're so frustrated and fed up and overwhelmed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But no, there is not mutual abuse unless you've got 2 dark triads who just really enjoy the theater of it. So anyway, that is that. All right, my loves, go have a great week. And on Sunday, we will be talking about all the different little manipulations that these little mother cluckers do. So we're going to be talking about manipulations. We're going to be talking about incompetence. They pretend to be incompetent. They pretend to be victims. Help me, I'm helpless. Learned helplessness. No, we're going to talk about all of that and how to avoid it, what to do with it, how to step out of the guilt trap, all of that fun stuff. Yay! All right, my loves, go have a great week, and I will talk to you again later this week. I'll be doing another video, and I will talk to you again definitely on Sunday.